Hello, how's it going? Here's my vlog for the 28th of September, 10:04 a.m. on Saturday. So I did a weightlifting yesterday. I could have done a lot more. I came back because I was like getting, I couldn't have done maybe not a lot more, but I came back. I didn't do every muscle group, like my shoulders aren't that sore. But I came back because I was thinking about making my little MMA routine because I'm getting fitter. I'm going to model it off of John Jones, Daniel Cormier 1, which is like, I don't know how well that's going to work though, because I watched that fight and like most of the fight was them hugging each other and just punching each other in the ribs, and it's like, how do you recreate that? But anyway, that was the one that I chose. So I'm gonna come up with a thing where you do the exact number of like kicks as the winner did, John Jones, and punches and everything, and then you go do a front flip off of like a medicine ball, and then land on your jiu-jitsu dummy, and you have to break something on the dummy. So I was gonna like try to attach stuff on the dummy, like chopsticks. I might want to buy a bunch of chopsticks too. And then you duct tape them to the dummy, and you know that the move was done when the chopstick breaks, and so like you just put chopsticks all over the dummy, and you have to break all the chopsticks. That's just an idea. I don't even know if that'll work. I've never even done jiu-jitsu one time in my whole life. I just bought the dummy. So, but yeah, but then you do 10 like squat overhead presses with like a dumbbell. I guess I would increase the speed. The heaviest dumbbells I have are 45 pounds. So, but I went into what I did yesterday was I went into the gym. I didn't do anything the day before because the day just got ahead of me. Just kind of, walking around the house and finally kind of like tying up loose ends and stuff around the house. I even got more Tupperware. Day before yesterday, I went and like moved Tupperware around to move a bunch of all the bike stuff because I want to have like a bike, I guess, shop out there on my the mechanic area out there on my deck. But after I did all this shuffling, and I shuffled ones from there, the living room into my bedroom, and then when it was all done, I had an extra 21 cup Tupperware. And I looked all over the house. I was like, where the hell does this go? When I started, they were all in their spot. And then when I was done, so I don't know, there must have been a spot or something. But so I put it into my sink under my bathroom, my bedroom bathroom. And so when I got the more Tupperware, I didn't realize that. I forgot that. And I was like, where do I put these new little ones in? The 4 cups. I got a packet of 3 4 cups. But then there was room in the left cupboard. But that means if I want to buy more, fill it up to the top, I could buy even more. So yeah, I'm like saturating my house with Tupperware all over. A lot of them don't have anything in them. So yeah, I've got so much organizational power in here. Yesterday, I got up at like 9:30 or something, and I think I went to the gym. I was stretching. I was trying to get, ready and stuff and eat and stuff and stretching. Right now it's 10:08, and I haven't had breakfast yet, and I'm kind of hungry, which is good, which is really good. Sorry. Because and I think I'm yawning now probably because I exercise. Like my body's tired, I'm gonna yawn if my body's tired for a little bit. I won't be yawning like this for more than a couple of months, but oh shit, what was I talking about? So I'm stretching, and then she was like, I think for a little bit, or maybe I didn't have that time, and then she's like, hey, I'm in the gym, so So my a prospective roommate called, had to talk to him, but then this guy from the south. But then I went to the gym and she was still there, and she had already done like 4 things, and I think I helped her with one more thing, and then she left, and I stayed and did a couple of things, and then came home, and then I think she like invited me over. Oh yeah, for dinner she gave me like cooked me rice and fish, so that I could go there and like put her new license plates on her car and move some things around for her. I'm like her shuffler, her daily shuffler of things. But then I came back and worked out at the gym. I had kind of a breakthrough gym workout, because I had some new ideas and did some new things, did some new machines. Because before I had done like the machines, and now I'm doing the isolateral machines. And yeah, no free weights. I have those in my house. But so I did hack squat. I did like 1 plate 10 times, but then I put on a 10 plater on each side and did that 10 times, and then I put on, and then yeah, I think it was only 2 sets. No, and then I put on a 35er. It was a 45 and a 35, and then I did that 10. So I did 3 sets, 45 on a side, 45 plus 10, 45 plus 35. And I did 3 sets of 10. I'll put I don't know how much I lifted, but it'll be on the nose, okay? It's on my phone, but 3 sets of 10 of isolateral bench press with 1 plate on each side. That's about as strong as I am. That's my bench press. So I couldn't bench press 135 pounds, 3 sets of 10. Because it's harder to bench press that than to isolateral bench it, because with bench pressing, the bar is 45 pounds, and isolateral, both of them are only 14. But like and then I was doing this chest thing, yeah, and I saw these dudes in front of me, and they were all taking turns. These like gym bros, taking turns trying to do 3 sets of 10 at 135. I think the last guy I saw managed to do like 6 or 7 or 8 or something. But I'm not that far away from being at that level of strength. It's probably a good rounded number, gym bro. 3 sets of 10 at bench press 135 pounds. If you can do that, you're strong. I'm not that strong, but maybe in a month. But anyway, I was lifting, but then I came back and I did another 3 sets of 10. So I did 6 sets of 10. And then I went back to the hack squat and I did another 3 sets of 10 with 2 plates. So that's the most I've hack squatted for like years. I think like 5 years ago I went in there and I hack squatted like 10 times or 3 sets of 10 or something with 2 plates. But this is like long enough ago. Like you age, you know. Once you get into your late 40s, you start to age. Like, I think I saw this thing on, I didn't see the video, but I saw like the title of a YouTube video saying you age in 2 spurts. I guess there's lots of people doing it. Maybe there was like a new study, but people usually age really, like, they do 5 or 10 years of aging or something, or all of a sudden when they're 44 and then when they're 60. And yeah, 44 kind of rings a bell. No, but for me it was between 48 and 50. Because 2 years ago when I was 48, I'm 50 now, when I was 48 2 years ago, I was renovating my house. It was the summer of 2022. And for like 3 months, that's when I built all this, got myself way in debt. And luckily I had a good roommate at the time who didn't complain that much. I was up for like days straight, but because I'd work all through the night with the damn lights on and stuff. He wouldn't say anything. It was awesome. Most people would complain about the light, but anyway, then I went riding and I was like super fit. Like I got all-time Strava PR going up the wall on Flagstaff. And I only rode like maybe less than a week or something, and then I had a relapse in the sight. So, but like the idea of doing like that now, riding like that now, it's like, whoa. Or even working on a house, like I'm all kinds of burnt out. But maybe it's more physical. But anyways, but in those last 2 years, I was really working on the site so much that I was like sitting perfectly still, like the Buddha. And god damn it, like I felt so many times where my body was like, oh, you're killing me. Oh, I'm gonna die now. Ah, like a million times over. So holy fucking shit did I abuse my body from lack of exercise. And of course that's why I have all these injuries. So I'm not surprised if I'm weak. But anyways, then I go and I squatted 3 sets of 10 with 1 plate on each side on the Smith squat. And that was a good breakthrough because I haven't squatted in forever. And yeah, and so now I can go back and, you know, do it more the next time, you know. So I got the idea to do 6 sets. 3 sets isn't really enough. I like going in, you do 3 sets of something you really want to do, something you're fired up for. Like like if you haven't been in the gym for a couple days and you feel strong, like you would go to those main, you know, like squat or something. And then just straight up do like 6 sets. You go and do 3 sets, go do some other things, go back and try to do 3 more sets of the same weight. Yeah, so, and then I think that one of the next things I want to try to do, well, I have weights here, so I wanted to have a whole weightlifting day where I'm just lifting weights at my house, get in the habit of that. Because if I do it right, you know, I could lift weights in my house, my tiny little 2-bedroom apartment, just as effectively as in the biggest gym ever. You know, the gyms just make it, I guess, less time setting stuff up. But if you're organized, you can do it at home. So yeah, I worked out, and then I was gonna row. I also left the gym the first time with my mom because I went to get gloves, and I came back and I did bring gloves, but I bought these gloves a couple days ago where you do this, it's like gloves, lifting gloves, and then they have a strap, so you can use a strap, but I lost them. I looked all over. I tore my room inside out looking for them, and they just disappeared on me, so I went back to the normal gloves. If I can't find them in the next few days, I'll just buy more. Like, that's what I do. oh shit, I need to go and pick up things that supposedly came. Fuck. Yeah, like I bought 1,000 zip ties for like $11, 4-inch zip ties, and then I couldn't find them. I searched all over my house day before yesterday. I literally opened up every single Tupperware in my house and dumped it out, and it was nowhere. And I know that I got it like 2 weeks ago. And then I even looked in my car. It's just gone. I hid it for myself, so I just bought another one. I think it came yesterday. But I need the Tupperware to do all sorts of random things, like the hooks. Like, I get the hooks that stick on the wall, but sometimes you want to stick them on something that's not a wall, like the bird cage. I need to put that hook on the bird cage, so I need zip ties to stick through the hook, right? But I only had 1 zip tie, so I have to go and put some more zip ties on it. That's to hook to that, so that I can open up the cage for the hamster cage if I ever want to reach in there. Yeah, and I was maybe, yeah. And anyways, yeah, I still have to get like Windexes down there too. God, I'm like barely able to keep up with myself because my brain barely works. Yeah, and every time I go to my mom's house, lately she has weed. Like her friend gave her a bunch of weed, and she was gonna make like cookies with it or something. But I went up to get her like a pen or her in her room to get like her purse or something. Her glasses, her reading glasses. And it was right next to her bedroom, and I wandered into her bedroom, and right on the top of the bed's this big old bag of weed. So I grabbed a bunch of buds, and so I came back and smoked it. So I'm going to tell my mom, and I think I told her, I'm like, dude, like, where's this weed coming from? I can't quit weed if you've got it laying around the house. Because I'm going to, like, see it. I'm going to put some nuggets in my in a little bag, come back here, smoke it, and then I'll have asthma that night. And my brain will be like, so, yeah, So yeah, I went over to row, but then the sweat got in my face, and I was like, all right, I don't need to row. I just come back with a sweatband. If you're gonna row, fucking bring a sweatband. Probably be easier for the running as well, because when I run, I'm running, and then you sweat, and then you pick up the t-shirt and move it on your face every like minute. Maybe it's better just have a headband. So I only did it. I stopped rowing at I did 2 kilometers in like 10 minutes and 5 seconds, which is I think faster than before. I'm getting a little bit faster, and then I ran a mile in like 12:50. I'm like, yeah, I can barely run, so I need to. That's one thing that I really want to try to do. I think I have a really good body for running. You know, I'm kind of like ectomorphic. You see my muscle serrations. I'm like efficient style. And I like to run. And I could have. So I should have been a good runner. Could have been a good runner. But I was never an athlete. I had to do college, and then I was burnt out. And then I wanted to do other things. You know. So. And I couldn't run. I wasn't allowed to run as a kid because I had Osgood-Schlatter disease. They told me to stop, so I didn't run from 7th grade to 12th grade. So, yeah, I was on the track team in 7th grade, but I think we only did like 5 or 10 practice runs, and then we did the one competition. So, yeah, almost no running. I was on the cross-country team in 12th grade. Joined it like in the last minute because I had mono. But that's like it. So my body's like, what's this running? But I really want to do it. So I think the best, because I basically can't run. Like if I can go like a mile. So if I want to be able to run, I think what I'm going to just have to do is just get in general shape from lifting and also riding. So, but anyway, I got up today. Yeah, I managed to do my legs a little bit yesterday. You know, I did 3 sets of 10 at leg extension. I wish I did more though. When I go in there again, I'm going to start doing 6 sets. But I did 3 sets of 10 leg extension. I think it was like 120 pounds or 110 pounds because it was toward the end of the day. It was after I did all those other exercises. And then 120 pounds. Maybe it was only, yeah, I think it was only 100 pounds on leg extension. That's what it was. I tried 110 pounds leg extension. I did 1 rep. I was like, oh, I ain't gonna do this. So yeah, it was 100 pounds, but then I did leg curl for 110 pounds, 3 sets of 10. But I should have done 6, even though I did all that other like hack squatting. I did 6 sets hack squatting and 3 sets of Smith squat. But oh, and then yeah, but that's all for the legs. So I think my butt's even a little sore. But then I came back and I stretched for like an hour or maybe even 2. And kind of had insomnia because I smoked a bunch of weed. Not a bunch, but I smoked all these nuggets, like 5 nuggets of weed I stole from my mom. And I wasn't going to tell her, but after I left the door, I was like, oh, God, I can't. So I turned around, I'm like, look at this weed. I'm going to smoke this weed. You need to hide that weed and stop smoking it. Because she smokes out of this, like, it's called a puffer. And it's like a corkscrew pipe, so the weed goes around this corkscrew a bunch of times, and because it goes around so many times, it cools down. But that doesn't mean it's better for your lungs. It just means maybe the smoke's more comfortable, but it's not a bong. It's still all these particulates. So I'm like, you need to quit. She's 82. And her mother never had good lungs. I think she was in the infirmary for like a year with lung problems, and then I've had asthma, and I need to quit the weed because I had asthma all night last night. But anyways, I had insomnia until like 3 in the morning. I watched Fast and Furious 1, like all the way through. I thought I was only going to watch the beginning to see how it started, but I just watched the whole thing. And then I was like just sitting, it was kind of my fault. Maybe it's because I was kind of high, but I stayed up too late, like looking at the phone and the TV. But when I laid down, I kind of had insomnia. So that's why I'm up so late. But I managed to sleep. That's all that matters. As long as I sleep. If I don't get any sleep, which is a danger for me, at least before, like when I start, that's why it's important for me to train every goddamn day. Do something every day. So because if I don't do something, I won't sleep, and then I won't be able to do anything next day, and then the cycle gets broken. So, but if as long as I do something, I'll be tired enough to sleep. So, and I even had dreams, but I don't remember them. But one thing I like to do, laying awake in bed with my phone is on Facebook. Like, dude, Facebook is just freaking jam-packed with, like, all these images of stuff, you know, of historical stuff that I didn't even know existed from, like, BC times, Iron Ages and Neolithic. And so I just go in and I like it, everything, and then I copy it to my phone, screen capture it to my phone. And then if I'm not a member of any of these groups, I become a member. Like, here's another one. The Archaeologist. Discovered by chance in 1968 off the coast of Tuscany. Barbati amphora is a silver masterpiece dating back to the 4th century AD. So here's some silver thing they just found that I've never even seen. And I'm not even a member of the Archaeologist. So now let's follow Archaeologist, dude. Now I'm following the Archaeologist. And there's a bunch of these, man. And yeah, just trying to... Because I would eventually want to plug these into my timeline. You know? Haha. I'm not going to... Here's Rare History World. I'm not going to join this, but just looking at this, like, look, control room of a German submarine. Ha. God damn. Anyway, I am going to yeah, so like I was saying before, I'm like a little bit hungry, and I never wake up hungry, man. So to wake up hungry, woo, that's a huge step, because that means I have a little bit of an appetite. See, did you hear that? That was my stomach rumbling. I have a little bit of metabolism, you know, like there's actually, my body is woken up. My body's working, like my stomach is using nutrients to replenish muscles, and, you know, and pretty soon I'm going to have to start eating. I went into the supermarket. God damn it, I spent so much. I spent like $78, and I went and got like $50. I got all this just different food that I normally don't get. Like, well, I mean, I got ice cream, because this thing was half off. I shouldn't have these little ice cream cookies, because I haven't gotten those for a while, but, yeah, I got cottage cheese for the first time in like 20 years. It's not as good as I remember. I'm not going to get it again, but I got cream cheese and bagels. I want to start having that. Having cream cheese bagels, get good at cream cheese bagel sandwiches. I got a whole bunch of more sandwich fixings, and then I had to get a bunch of like maintenance stuff, like toothpaste and olive oil. It just added up. But I'm not spending money on weed anymore, like at all. I won't be spending money at all anymore on weed, because I'm not going to be smoking anymore. I am going to grow it, though, just for fun, and give the plants to my mom so that she can make cookies out of it. See, my back still feels like I need to work it out. Like, it's a weird sensation, because I've got, like, sore muscles, but I can also feel how my body is still like, oh, muscle atrophy, like between my shoulder blades. My muscles are like, atrophy, oh, I need exercise. Like, all of my muscles need to get sore. Like, that's why I said I should have been in the gym longer to get more muscles. But anyway, I managed to sleep. And it did give me time to stretch, which was good. But, so, because I went to the gym yesterday, I'm going to go on a ride today. I stagger the riding and the gym. Riding is the only... I want to be a triathlete, but I can't. I could swim, but I don't. I'm not going to do that now. I have to be in the right mindset to swim, because I don't like to get wet unless I want to get wet. And I'm probably not fit enough to do it anyway. Like, I'm not limber enough, and well, I'm mainly not in the right mindset. So what I'm going to do is ride my bike today all day long, try to get out, eat as fast as I can, as much as fast as I can, and then get out there and ride up in the hills, you know, as long as I can. listening to Aquinas. I'm not listening to music anymore, at least as of now. I was in there listening to Thomas Aquinas, Summa Theologica, in the gym. So, and then the bike rides, I'll be doing it as well. I only have 24 hours left out of a 71-hour book. I get a lot of insights from that book. I was saying this before in a video I had to delete because I got carried away and I started talking trash about people I know, and I told my mom, and I was like, yeah, she's like, yeah, delete it. And I was like, I know, I already did. But it's hard when you know too many fundamentalist Christians, because you start using them as examples, and then you're like, oh shit, I probably don't want me to use them as an example, so just don't hang out with fundamentalist Christians. This is what happens. See, this is what I was realizing about Summa Theologica. Summa Theologica is Thomas Aquinas, maybe 1400s in Italy, in Rome. He sounds kind of like, has like an English name, but he was an Italian. And, okay, so he wrote a book called Summa Theologica, like theologic summary. So it's theology, right? What is theology? You know, like people are like, oh, I went to school for theology, and now I'm a preacher or whatever. So theology, I would say, would be Thomas Aquinas. He's like the godfather of theology. This is like the height of the Catholic Church, probably right before the invention of the printing press and the Protestant Reformation. So he basically put together like the basic rule book, you know, of Christianity. Kind of reminds me of Justinian putting together his Justinian law code. He went and grabbed all the different rulings of all the different emperors and put them together, and that created their law code. In the ancient world, nobody had a law code, a code. I was watching Fast and Furious, and they're talking about the code, you know, because they're criminals. And it's like, why are we rooting for a bunch of criminals? Oh, because they have the code, the friendship code. They hate the world and they're sociopaths, but at least you can trust, they can trust each other. Not in the real world, but on Fast and Furious. So it's like, but having a code is good because it helps you like establish an identity for yourself, and you know, boundaries and all that kind of stuff, and then you know, respect for other people and all that. And but the thing is, like, countries never had a code. Like, we should have had codes a long time ago. Like, we never, the very first law code, the very first thing that you can, you know, like, the closest thing to a law code would be like the Jews writing their Bible, you know, with all the different decisions that their leaders made, and then they have to kind of follow those decisions. And the Romans did the same exact thing. Everybody did it. And so when Justinian finally made the code, that was kind of like people's first idea. Oh, maybe you could make like a law code, like you set it all in law, and then instead of just listening whatever the judge wants, or the king, the judge has to follow the law code. And then of course they can, you know, make their own decisions too. They do it all the time based on individual people. But so then Summa Theologica came out, but that was like a law code, but it was a law code / psychology code. It's a code for psychology mainly. It's a psychology, sociology, but because what he's going on, he goes and cites all the different people from the Old Testament, but also, and people don't realize this, you don't think about this, especially in fundamentalist Christian churches, but a lot of your theologic codes that you come from, and the little rules and regulations and stories and like people you follow without thinking for yourself, are not, it doesn't all trace back to Jews. You're not all Jews. It also traces back to the Greeks. And in fact, with Thomas Aquinas, Summa Theologica, Catholic Church in Rome in 1400, the person he quoted most out of everybody was Aristotle. He quoted Aristotle like as much as everybody else combined. He didn't even call him Aristotle. He called him the philosopher. Like Aristotle to Thomas Aquinas was like Jesus Christ is to us now. Because he'd be like, oh, the philosopher said, and then so we have to take this from that, and blah, 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 blah. Right? So us is like Christian, Judeo-Christian. Oh, it's more like Judeo-Christian, Roman, Greek-Roman. And that'll also explain, you know, the paganism and everything that is coexist. But so, so he's taking all these like rules and stuff that their leaders made, or the smart people from the past, which is great. That's what historians do. That's what Montesquieu in 1730 did with all the different, with his book, Spirit of the Laws, which is another like 3,000 page book. He was just taking all these different laws that he had read from coming up through time, and he compiled them and compared them. So it's basically the same thing. The difference between Summa Theologica by Thomas Aquinas and The Spirit of the Laws by Montesquieu is that they kind of went in different directions. You know, Summa Theologica, that's religion. Montesquieu, that's just politics, secular. Well, in the secular world, you get to think for yourself. In the theologic world, you don't. And so what that does is it creates these, like, is schism the right word? It creates these, like, rebirths. It creates these, yeah, schism is the right word. It creates these walls between people so they can't communicate, and they have to just constantly reboot. So, because you're not allowed to think. And so, like, in the secular world, you know, like, I could write a book now called The Spirit of the Laws 2.0. And I could just combine a bunch of stuff that they said about laws from Montesquieu and then from everybody else, and it's just me being rational, and then I can expound on it, and I can say whatever I want expounding on it, and then other people can do that. But with theology, it's people aren't unable to benefit from what Thomas Aquinas wrote. Like, nobody knows who Thomas Aquinas is. Nobody reads Thomas Aquinas. Nobody takes him seriously. Nobody cares because of the tradition that it exists in. You know, you go to church just to listen to what your boss says, and he's told to say what his boss says. And it's a problem, because if people were allowed to treat the Summa Theologica like the way that they treat the Spirit of the Laws, then people would be able to talk about it. People would be able to write books based on Summa Theologica. You know, like in the year 690, maybe was it 590? Pope, wasn't Augustine the Great? Pope, my brain doesn't work. Pope Augustinius the Great? Oh, God. He wrote Book of Job. The guy who wrote Book of Job. He was the Pope. Gregory. I always get that wrong. Pope Gregory the Great. He was a senator. His parents were senators, and then he, inherited his senator dad's, Roman senator grandfather's house and turned it into a monastery and became the Pope Gregory the Great, and wrote a 3,000-page book called Book of Job, where he was just talking about Job, which is, I don't think it's not anywhere near 3,000. The entire Old and New Testament is 3,000 pages. So he's just like psychoanalyzing it. That's another psychology book. So then Thomas Aquinas comes on, does this, basically a psychology book. So he's like he talks about the 7 cardinal sins: fear, sloth, greed, avarice, pride, gluttony, and like jealousy or something, which all the other sins come from, the capital sins. And then he's like analyzing like where all the other sins come from, and then what kind of sins they are, and like what motivates them, and like what kind of. And so at the end of the day, you're here like reading, like it's basically a law book that's based off the psychology of people based on different situations that they're in. The exact same way that the Spirit of the Laws is a law book showing, it's called Spirit of the Law because it's like laws have different spirit. They have a different personality. They have different qualities based on where you're from, you know, just like architecture, you know. If you live up in Norway, your house is going to be tall and pointy. If you live in Italy, it'll be short and flat because there's no snow. Well, same thing with laws. Work like that too. They have to work around the situation you're in. And even people's personalities are different, and all of that. And well, that's how Thomas Aquinas was with kind of psychology in different situations, so that you would know how to like judge people based on different situations, like in a right way, right versus wrong, rather than might versus right. So it's like, so yeah, he's going on like, oh, you know, if somebody's begging, but then they don't have any money anyway, then it's not that much of a sin, and you know, but if somebody's super rich, but then they beg, that's like extra sin, and yeah, so it's a full-on psychology book. So then why, here's the big question, why didn't Carl Jung and Stephen Freud reference Thomas Aquinas when they invented psychology? It's because they didn't invent psychology, there was the schism, they reiterated it, basically starting from scratch, and so there's all these like parallel like evolutions of human development that aren't connected with each other because people don't listen to each other or care about each other because of this culture of not telling you you're not allowed to think, and so sit down and shut up. So people are like, okay, well, I guess I won't read Thomas Aquinas, right? Because like imagine if I were to read Thomas Aquinas as just a dude, and then I wanted to talk to some guy who went to Theologica school about Thomas Aquinas and then tell him that it's psychology. He'd be like, no, it's theology. And I'd be like, yeah, but it's theology is part psychology. He'd be like, no, it's not psychology, it's Freud. And it's like, oh, dude. So then you have to go in and point out to him that, you know, giving different nuances for different people and why people act and think different ways in different situations is psychology and sociology. And they're like, well, maybe, but then what are you going to do, write a book about it? It's like, yeah, people should write books about it. And then you can connect it, and then, you know, somebody can be like, yeah, man, I love theology. But it doesn't mean I'm like a fundamentalist Christian, you know? You don't have to get pigeonholed. Because those types of people will pigeonhole your ass, and then they'll think that you're going to burn in hell, and they pray that you don't hear the horn of Gabriel when the second coming comes, and like, you know, it just shuts down communication, and we need to communicate more. So that's basically the problem is people aren't reading books for what they actually are. Yeah, and I bet you a lot of people are like, what the hell is theology? Theology is the unbaked is the Roman Empire not completely finished. It's like the cake and the batter was on there and it's just about put in the oven, but then they staled it and they decide, oh, whatever, let's just call this stale cake a cookie, you know? When all they had to do is turn on the oven and cook it and, you know, be consistent and with our human development, so that when you're referencing the philosophers of the past and the historians of the past, it's not, oh yeah, we're going to talk about, you know, the Roman historians and the Greek historians, but then there's this other area over here where it's the Catholic Church and Judeo-Christian. It's like, no, dude, it's all the same. So yeah, that's what I think is going to kill all the churches. Is people go to church and they're like, why are we just talking about this one thing? You know, like I grew up as a fundamentalist Buddhist, and the Buddhists think that their culture is the oldest, but their reincarnational cycles of the lamas they follow started in like 1650. Like, it's not that old. It's like 400 years old. Yeah, and then you don't talk to anybody because they have their own rules and stuff that they learn, and they don't want to saturate their brain learning other things. But then the rules aren't that and aren't that developed. So then their leader gets to make up whatever he wants, and then they just kind of revert back to some third world, back to the might makes right when they started out trying to be all nice, and peaceful. Like the Buddhists here in Boulder growing up, they're not nice and peaceful. They're latchly, jealous, spazzy people who would like to beat you up, but they won't because they're fucking don't have any muscles on them because they don't do anything. So, but yeah, fucking alcoholic coke addicts, like, because you need to have actual, you have to have a code for your society. And so when we finally come up with our law code from America, it's like, I don't know how many pages it is. A lot of it's on my website. It's an ongoing project, but because I want to make it a book, but, that's something that we should be the backbone of our country. So like, we should all know what it is. We should all read it like a book. We should all try to preserve it, because these Republicans are trying to change the country. Like they're getting together with their rich friends who aren't smart, don't know anything. I guarantee you, some rich like oil lobbyist or some rich fucking oil billionaire or some motherfucker who sits on some big company. They're smart if they talk to you about history, if they take your history test, but they don't care about any of that stuff. And so what they're going to do is they're like, you know what? America's been around 250 years. That's long enough for democracy. In fact, who is that kid? Sean Walsh, David Walsh, who did Am I Racist? Stupid movie. They got together and he was actually saying, oh no, it wasn't him. He's the guy who likes to be stupid. There's another guy who pretends that he's smart. The guy who starred in that movie, Lady Ballers, the little short dude. Jeremy Goring. I think it was him. He was going, or there's another one of those guys who's more of a know-it-all. Oh yeah, no. The dude with the glasses and the narrow face. That guy. I mix him up with David Walsh. That dude. I can't remember his name, but that dude. He was mentioning like the 5 forms of government in ancient, from Aristotle's Politics, and saying that those naturally, because it's a cycle, that we need to use that cycle to cycle back into kingship, to get rid of democracy. So they're like saying it out loud now. Their mouthpieces are saying it, and then everybody else will. Trump said it when he wanted to get rid of the Constitution in his tweet. I actually said Trump was going to try to rewrite the Constitution, make himself king, back in 2015 when he first started running, 2016. I said it in a YouTube video. If you go back to 2015, type Trump in my search bar on my main channel and go back to 2015 and watch the video, and I straight up predicted it. But the reason that they're doing that is because it's like that reboot thing. They don't want to. They're not educated. They don't read, right? So they don't know the whole story of how we evolve. They just cherry pick what they want so that they can make it a dictatorship again. So basically the moral of the story is all those books, if you have a historical book that was written by a smart person in the past, then like you should read it and talk about it. And then we should all do it. And if we're all doing it, then we're all going to be like, okay, yeah, what was this whole like tribalism stuff? Like you're the theologist versus the, left ring, white ring, the scientist, secularist versus the, no, we can all study the same thing and then have different like personalities between us, but there don't have to be like different groups of people, right? Because what if you're in one of these groups of people that's supposed to be different from the other group, but you're like, oh no, I want to mosey over here, see what they're up to. You can't, because then you're breaking the cycle. So, yeah, that's the impression I got from Thomas Aquinas. Because you can't really, because the other impression I got from Thomas Aquinas is, if you're really gonna, like, it's such a big book, and it's a packed book. It's not like a novel that's 3,000 pages. It's a compilation of things that everybody in the past before him said about every single thing. So It's the kind of book that you would need to have in written form. I have it on my website, but it's not done. It's probably one of the least developed books on my website, but it's on there. And to put it on my website and the design of my website would be really cool because it's the kind of book that you would, kind of like the Bible. It's like a book that you would dance around and for the different sections, you know, like what would have Thomas Aquinas said about this subject? And you would look it up and then read it instead of do it cover to cover, which I'm doing now. But yeah, that's a really good book. And theology is psychology and sociology. So we're basically reinventing. So like what next? Like in like a couple hundred years, somebody's going to invent splugablogali, and it's going to be some mixture of some crazy guy's psychology and what resembles sociology and God worship or something, because it's just taken out of thin air because nobody reads books and we burnt it, or you know, or the books got so old, the language got too old, so we just don't bother, you know, like, because that's kind of what people do. People are actually proud of being stupid. Like I knew these people who were super rich. I'm not gonna like drop names, but they were assholes. They were like trying to make me out to be like uneducated and stupid and stuff and ridiculous. And I was like, went over there once and I was like, hey, let me show you my like printout of like all these books that I do on my site. And like this old lady, little Mrs. Smarty Pants, is like, oh, I'm not interested in that intellectual stuff like that, whatever, that Nietzsche and shit. And it's like, oh, so it's the people who like are smarter than you and better than you because they make more money are the same exact people who are like, will get all like up in arms and that they're not going to read because they're not intellectual. So, you know, people in power just get to pick, like college. I got kicked out of college and I got like D's and nothing but D's and C's for no reason, just because like I was like labeled as that kind of a person. Maybe because you know, they can tell from your vibe. If you're bored in there, then you're not there for yourself. You're there because your parents, and that means you're not going to drop out. So then they just use you as the guy they give the bad grades to, because they have to give bad grades to somebody. They can't give bad grades to everybody because then everybody will complain. If you ever go to college or high school, if they ever give you less than an A, get in the teacher's face and tell them you're gonna drop out of the college or the high school, and you're gonna report everything that the teacher did that pissed you off to the principal, and you're gonna like write a letter to the editor. Don't ever accept anything under an A, ever. Because I went through college with D's and C's, and I was accepting all these D's that I should have been getting A's in because I showed up every single day, did every single homework assignment on time perfectly, and I get a D. I got a D for fucking figure drawing in college. And my figure drawing was fine. I showed up every day. So, but I didn't say anything. But then at the end, it bit me in the ass because they kicked me out for bad grades. For a new rule that didn't even exist. They pulled a freaking... They kicked me out because I got a D- in the last class, which I did perfectly in. But the guy didn't want to give me a grade because he wanted me to do something on my page that made no sense because he was illiterate. This retarded guy who doesn't work there anymore. So I didn't do it, and he's like, well, I had to give you a grade. I'm like, okay. He didn't tell me what grade. And then two years later, I was like, because they placed me to do the student teaching, but then they took it away from me. So I traveled. Then I came back, I'm like, hey, you guys going to do me the student teaching? Because when they took it away from me, they didn't have another backup for me. So like, oh no, you got the D- in the class. It's like, it doesn't matter, my GPA was 2.5, but there was no rule. There never was a rule that D- means you get kicked out. They just made it up. So when you don't, the moral of the story is when you don't have a code, people are just going to have their own codes. And then they're going to have their own codes institutionally, right? The people in the educational institutions don't even follow the institution codes because the institution doesn't have a code. They just do whatever they want. And then they'll eventually piss enough people off, and then those assholes will have to get fired or whatever. But then they'll just hire more assholes with their own codes. So you have to, and so that's why I put the law code on my website, because those guys are going to try to, if they get rid of democracy, well, they'll get rid of the law code. And then they get rid of the law code, then they make their own law code, and then they go, oh, well, let's forget the law code, just whatever I say. And then we're back to where we were before, like the cycle of the political cycle that what's-his-face wants. We're back to the cycle of, like, why? Somehow they think that when you get more advanced, you become more autocratic. And I think the Roman Empire being autocratic was kind of makes people think that, because it was a republic. It was a democratic republic before that, but that's what made it powerful. That's when they took over the world. Then they had the world, because and the whole, you know, and everybody wants to have an organized world system. And then, you know, some people think, oh well, it's working great because you have a emperor with all power. No, that it slowly kept falling because you had that. So and then it had to die because they couldn't bring themselves out of it. So. And we couldn't grow again until we actually got that democracy stuff going. So if we go back to the whole autocratic thing, we'll start to die, right? Only the whole planet will die because we're destroying the environment. So, you know, we don't have a second chance to go drill oil again. It took millions of years for that to appear. Yeah, that's the moral of the story is the more people value ancient literature, the classics, and talk about it and read it and know it and put it on their websites, and the more people are going to value, you know, the law code and the laws, and then they're going to develop their own code, you know, and then people. This world is big enough. You don't have to hang out with somebody just because you grew up in a tribe. Then you because of your code. You go hang out with this group of people, and then the more powerful groups of people, they gobble up the smaller groups. And then at the end, everybody is educated, open-minded, reads, and understands their law code of their, you know, town, their person, town, state, and country, and world, you know? Like there's this thing called law of nations that they always talk about, and that's a code that everybody in the Western world had. From the beginning, and that is whenever you have a war with somebody and you take over their country or their culture or their civilization, you allow their country to survive. You allow their language, their culture, their civilization to survive. And Rome followed that. That's why their paganism allowed people to keep, that's why they had so many gods. They just allowed people to keep their religion. It was in their culture and their races. It's law of nations. They're just you know, the world culture to keep everything standardized with everybody, and so we can have world peace. And that is like a code. You know, that's because they had a code. You know, when people don't have any codes and you're straight up barbarians, then you'll go and like with Genghis Khan, you'll go and just destroy an entire civilization just because, you know, wreak havoc. Because there's no code. It's just whatever. It's just because they just popped out of nowhere, a bunch of cavemen on, you know, horses, and their leader has all power. So that's why we need to, you know, you need to approach Thomas Aquinas the same way that you approach Montesquieu. And when you read Thomas Aquinas, look at it as a psychology. And the reason people don't is because it's just too big. You know, like that's like a damn subject in itself. That's why they have theology. Only the theology is limited because it's so big, limited to just that stuff. You know, they need to bring it out. So, anyways, that's the impression I got from Thomas Aquinas. Because if you want me to give you like specific examples, I would have to read the book again, or I'd have to read it in bits and pieces because it's just so damn big. It's like so intricate. I can only tell you the overall nuances, the overhead story of it. So yeah, it's but yeah, it was you do have to pay attention though. Like it's not worth reading if you're like not in the right mindset, because then you just blah 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 blah, and it's like, oh god, now I'm not listening to it. But yeah, if you're listening to it, it gets interesting, man. Just putting yourself in all these different situations. Like imagine hanging out with somebody who has an opinion about everything, but he also has resources to what everybody else's opinion was. Yeah, like give you the longest answer to anything. That's Thomas Aquinas. So I'm gonna have a big breakfast. Start listening to him now. I was thinking about stretching before I go on a bike ride. Maybe I'll do it for a half hour, but I don't want to run out of time because I get up so late because I have insomnia. But hopefully the insomnia will go away. So yeah, I'm gonna go have a big old breakfast and listen to Thomas Aquinas and try to do the mountains like all day. Yeah. And we'll see how I feel tomorrow, you know. Because whenever I cook myself so much, like I've had enough days and I'm tired, that day I'm going to, like normally when I'm caught up, that would be the day where I would kind of like maybe grade myself in one of my tests or try to get caught up on something on my website. But no, not now. Now, if I have to take a day off in this first couple of months, I'm going to stretch. You know, I won't have enough energy and stuff to like either do anything in terms of exercise, but I could always stretch. You know, the only time I don't have enough energy to stretch is like when I come back from a big bike ride and I'm exhausted. But you know, I can even stretch coming back from lifting. So, anyways, that's my vlog for today. Talk to you tomorrow.